What still matters? The week of July 10, 2026. The ceasefire between the United States and Iran is over. On July 7, 3 commercial ships were attacked near the Strait of Hormuz, among them the Qatari gas tanker Al Rikayat, the first Qatari vessel hit since the war began in February. The United States revoked the oil sanctions waiver it had granted Iran under the Islamabad Memorandum and struck Iranian air defense, coastal surveillance, and missile sites around Bandar Abbas and Qeshm Island. On July 8, President Trump said the ceasefire is over, while allowing that negotiations can continue. Iran fired missiles and drones at Bahrain, home of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet, at Kuwait, at Qatar, and sent 10 ballistic missiles toward the Al Azraq air base in Jordan. Oil rose about 5%. Qatar Energy paused its plan to restore production at the Ras Laffan gas complex, and the International Maritime Organization says 6,000 seafarers are still stranded in the strait. All of this happened in the week Iran buried Ali Khamenei, who was killed on the first day of the war. The world's most important energy choke point now sits inside an active war, and the Gulf countries hosting American bases are being struck directly. OpenAI's newest model reached the public through Washington. GPT 5.6 spent 12 days, from June 26 to July 9, limited to roughly 20 organizations that OpenAI had vetted with the U.S. government. The Commerce Department's Center for AI Standards and Innovation ran additional testing. OpenAI sent engineers to Washington to answer questions about cybersecurity and biology capabilities, and the wide release happened only after Commerce signed off. The framework behind this, from the June 2 executive order, is voluntary on paper. In this case, it worked like pre-clearance, and GPT 5.6 became the first frontier model released on the government's schedule rather than the company's. The precedent came from Anthropic. Commerce ordered Fable 5 and Mythos 5 off the market on June 12 over a jailbreak found by Amazon's security team, and lifted the order about 3 weeks later. 3 Frontier Labs shipped models within about 48 hours. SpaceX AI released Grok 4.5 on July 8, its first model since going public. Musk calls it an Opus-class model, and it costs $2 per million input tokens and $6 per million output. OpenAI's GPT 5.6 comes in 3 tiers named Sol, Terra, and Luna, from $5 input and $30 output down to $1 and $6. It also powers ChatGPT Work, a desktop agent that connects to Slack, Teams, Google Drive, and SharePoint and can stay on a task for hours. Meta released Muse Spark 1.1 on July 9, its first model behind a paid developer API, at $1.25 and $4.25, and the API accepts both the OpenAI and the Anthropic request formats. Anthropic went the other way. Its top model, Fable 5, was scheduled to leave the standard paid plans on July 7, hours before the deadline. After user backlash, Anthropic extended included access to July 12, capped at half the weekly usage limit. After that date, Fable 5 requires prepaid usage credits at $10 per million input tokens and $50 per million output, several times the price of anything else shipped this week. Capability near the frontier is becoming cheap and interchangeable, while access to the strongest model is managed week to week, on hours of notice. The Federal Trade Commission moved to preempt state AI regulation. On July 1, by a 2-0 vote under Chairman Andrew Ferguson, the FTC proposed a policy statement about AI companies, quote, manipulating the behavior of their AI systems contrary to reasonable consumer expectations for objectivity and accuracy. It names Colorado's AI Act as impliedly preempted where it conflicts with federal law, and it follows a December executive order directing the FTC to address state laws that require altering truthful model outputs. Public comments are due July 31. If finalized, a federal consumer protection framework would override state AI laws in California, Colorado, Illinois, and elsewhere. The European Commission told Meta to redesign Facebook and Instagram. Preliminary findings issued July 10 say their design encourages compulsive use among children, infinite scroll, auto-playing video, personalized recommendations, reels, and stories. The Commission says Meta's time management tools, including the ones on by default for teenagers, can be dismissed and do not meaningfully reduce usage. Meta points to teen accounts, which cap daily screen time at 15 minutes and let parents block nighttime access. The possible fine reaches 6% of global annual turnover. This is the Digital Services Act applied to design patterns rather than content, a new category of enforcement. Britain is about to change Prime Minister without an election. Andy Burnham, the former Greater Manchester mayor who returned to Parliament through the Makerfield by-election a few weeks ago, has backing from 322 of Labour's 403 MPs and is the only declared candidate. Keir Starmer resigned as Labour leader the day Burnham was sworn in. If no rival gathers 81 nominations by July 15, Burnham becomes Labour leader and then Prime Minister on July 20. He wants a number 10 unit based in Manchester and a sustained increase in defence investment, and he has said Labour, quote, didn't get it right on Gaza. That's what still matters this week.